What's happening, guys? Devil here again. This week I want to talk about the Strymon Iridium. Now, there are a ton of videos online about the Strymon Iridium and what it sounds like with sound clips that you can listen to. I'm just going to do a quick run through for you guys that don't know what it is. The Strymon Iridium is basically a amp modulator, if I can put it in that way. Amp modeler, not modulator. Amp modeler. They've got three amps that they're modeling: a Fender, a Vox AC30, and a Marshall Plexi. And it's got built-in impulse responses, IRs. Iridium, get it? And so the impulse response is the cabs that's loaded. You can go and change to whatever cab you prefer. Unfortunately, you are stuck with either the Fender, the Vox, or the Plexi. But if you need anything more than that, I mean, unless you're like a serious metalhead, I don't really see any guitarist in any live situation wanting more than that. Now, live situation being the key word in this discussion, the Strymon Iridium, I think, has been developed around live guitarists that don't want to carry like amps around. You got something, you have your pedals plugging straight into this. It's a modeled amp, and then from there it goes to the PA. So I wanted to find out how well would the Iridium work in a studio environment, with everything going on now with software, like Guitar Rig or Line 6's Helix Native. And I mean, there's a ton of other like software out there that people use. And I wanted to find out what would this work like in a studio. So I phoned one of my friends, Bruce Wallace, who is a music producer and musical director. He has produced and recorded so many albums, great recording engineer. He really has an ear for getting great tones. And I phoned him and asked him, Bruce, when do you have a recording session again with electric guitarists? And he told me, well, tomorrow. We headed over to his studio and he had two amazing guitarists there. Jason Bradley, who's an amazing country guitarist and singer who's been to the States, and has done like very well over there. And Fritz de Groot, who's a guitar teacher over here in South Africa and who has taught some of the biggest, or well-known guitarists in this country. And he's such a great player. So we headed over, we plugged it in, and we just wanted to see what their opinion was. That's the big.
I'm big, if only. But I keep saying it.
Yeah, so that's the
bypassed, right?
And then this is the Fender Deluxe. So that's AC30 vibes. Okay. Obviously, if you crank it, it's going to do what an AC30 does.
That's nice.
And then you've got different cabs. And then exactly the same as what you would do on a Plexi is you drop the volume and you
Same as
yeah.
He's driving the valve. Let's hear it with a Strat. We get Fritz on a Strat and have a listen. Do you want to put your
So that's like a Fender Tweed.
It really is nice. dude, it's serious. Thank you for bringing it. It's very good. It's not just. It's believable. What do you think? Now I can tell you, even as a drummer, I'm impressed.
You like it? Cool.
Damn, to think we could have bought 3 of these for the price of that last 6. All the guitars.
And the thing is, so just plugging this straight into the Bruce's studio sounded incredible off the bat. It sounded so good. So I left it there with Bruce and Jason and Fritz, and so they could do their session. And I headed back to find out from Bruce a couple of days later what was his opinion regarding the Iridium. So, and this is what Bruce had to say. Yeah, so what was your experience using the Strymon Iridium?
Well, the first impression was impressive. And I think, you know, Divold, you were here as well when we first started trying it out. And and we had 2 guitarists, so we were, you know, it was quite a mixed bag of guys giving their opinion and checking it out for the first time, and that was straight out the box. I don't think anybody in that room had actually heard it before. And so straight out the box, when we plugged it in and we just started getting sounds through the studio speakers, it comes across as being very authentic. I think that's the word for me. And what I loved about it is that when you did change the settings on it, the amps and the cabs, it actually made a significant difference to the sound. It wasn't subtle. You actually heard the sound radically change, and then all the other parameters that you tweak then kind of, you know, add even more or less of what you're looking for. So we didn't experiment too far with the options of obviously loading other impulse responses, which obviously can make it much more customizable and probably more tailored to what somebody would like. In terms of studio use, we ended up using it. We recorded quite extensively, 30 odd tracks of guitar tracking. A lot of it was doubling. You know, and just trying different sounds and amps and things and layering textures. So what this will do, or what we found it did very well, was especially for the rhythm tracking, it gave very authentic amp sounds, nice amplifier sounds that we could mix and match with the guitars and just get the sound as close as we wanted to. And then we doubled that. The pros and cons of that in the studio, I think, obviously are that you need to know what you're after, number one, and need to know that whatever you record with this device then pretty much is going to be it. There's not a lot of flexibility afterwards, which obviously software guitar amp simulators have that advantage, because in the post-production and even during the mixing stage you can even tweak amps up to the last minute. So if I was to say its forte is unquestionably a killer live amp setup, number one. I don't think I've actually heard anything much better than that, and I've heard quite a few here in the studio and on stage at Choose Life Church. The guys have quite a lot of amp simulators there, and they're all good, and some of them are even more flexible and a lot more effects and a lot more pedals and a lot more control and presets, and so they get a lot more fancy. But having said that, you know, I found that over the last couple of months, you know, very little of that has been utilized. And, you know, guitarists generally want to plug in, get instant gratification sound, flip 1 or 2 channels, tweak a mid-range or a boost here and there, and that's it. And they get great sound. And that's what this thing is really incredible at. So from a live point of view, I think it's one of the best out there from my limited experience as a non-guitarist.
And what did Jason and Fritz have to say about it?
No, they were thoroughly impressed, yeah. And they're the guys, obviously, that are using the more fancy units as well. So they were duly impressed. And I think, yeah, they may even be considering this as an option. I think if you look at the sound per rand value, it's amazing. It might not be the biggest, fanciest, most lights, LED setup, flexible effects kind of unit that you can buy, but if it's just pure great sound that you're looking for, really, really nice amp sound, real authenticity, for the price, it's actually an incredibly good piece of gear.
All right, so that is where I think I agree with Bruce as well, is that this is an amazing live tool. You know, I don't think that for the money you can really get better. Yes, you got the Line 6 Helixes, and you've got, you know, I mean, all the different brands that do. You've got Kemper and everybody that models. But for the money and for what it does, I also think the Iridium is incredible. So this one that I got on loan to check out, I actually bought because it's just so absolutely incredible. So it works well on your pedal board. All the pedals that would run in front of your amp goes into the in. All of the pedals that would run in your effects loop just goes on the out. And then that goes to the PA. And also, if you're like me and you still like playing through amps, you can actually just bypass the impulse response and just use the preamp sections to get those different tones. So the Strymon Iridium, check it out. I'm digging it. This one's mine now. I'm putting it on my board. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you dig these videos, please like and subscribe. And yeah, check you in the next one.